Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really happy to be bringing this video to you, as I am to bring all my videos to you, but this one is especially meaningful for me because I want to teach you something that I learned about recently that had a profound impact on me, and as I was learning it, I was like, oh my God, why don't we learn this when we're young? Like, why doesn't anyone teach this to us? Because fundamentally what I want to teach you today, what I want to share with you, is a way I believe that we can bring ourselves into greater alignment with like the real truth inside, which is aligned with like the divine truth. So how do we bring ourselves into alignment with God's will for our life? God being whatever your concept of God is, whatever the divine force that guides us, that guides our growth, that guides the growth of the seed, like whatever that force is, the force that wants to prosper us, how do we align ourselves with that force? So my friends in the High Vibe tribe will recognize this. In fact, the reason I'm doing this right now is because I owe them some slides. We did this class in the High Vibe tribe the other night, and the slides we ended up with ended up a little bit messy, so I wanted to break it down to be a little cleaner. So instead of just doing it on my own, I thought I would make a video while I do it. Good morning, everybody. Hi. So for those of you who don't know, the High Vibe Tribe is a group that we started, maybe 3-ish weeks ago. I activated the fan subscription option here on my Facebook page. And what that means is that you subscribe just like you would subscribe to Spotify or a magazine or anything else that you find value in. And then that gives you access to exclusive content and a group. So we have what's called the High Vibe Tribe. And what's amazing about it is that it's a group of people who really are committed to their growth and to raising their vibration and to not settling for just like the old stuff. But together we're creating a really cool community. So if that's something that interests you, there is a subscriber button somewhere on this page. You can locate that. You can learn more. You can try it for a month. You can drop out after a month if you don't like it. It's $10 a month, and with that you get 2 Zoom calls. Every 2 weeks we do a Zoom call where we're in a small group setting. So this material is something that I presented on our last Zoom call, and then it's also an opportunity to like get to know each other better. Oh, hi Scotty, good morning. Thank you, Laura, isn't this nice? Oh, hi Vanessa. Yeah, this was a gift that I received from Mexico. Matthew, Odell, dragon fruit drinks are awesome. I don't know about dragon fruit drinks. I just know about dragon fruit. Anything with a dragon in it, amazing. So anyways, oh, hi Roger, hi honey, I love you. I'm back from the cave, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that. I had an ayahuasca journey 2 nights ago. 2 nights? Sunday night. Yeah, it was really powerful. It was such a beautiful experience. That's not something I want to talk about right now. That'll be the subject for a different video. Chantal, the Zoom calls are around 2 a.m. So Chantal, we're gonna, as you know, we're gonna be working on coming up with different calls. So I'm actually thinking our next Zoom call is gonna be an early morning one. So I'm holding the care that you and many of other of our group members are in different time zones. So we have time. We have time to play and to learn and to see what works best for us as a community. So stay tuned. Hi Sharon. Yeah, Dana, I'm glad you're there too. Hi Tamara. All right guys, so without further ado, we're gonna get into what I'm calling the cycles lecture, or also how to feel good again, or how to align yourself with divine will, or how to get your groove back. So essentially what I'm going to be teaching you in this video is how nature, how life creates, how God creates in this world. This information is relevant to all of life. And if we work against this force, then we suffer, we can get stuck, we can get stagnant, we can be lost and confused and kind of stay in the darkness. But when we learn to align ourselves with the patterns that I'm about to teach you, a whole new world of possibilities can open up. And really the magic of life can be activated because we're no longer trying to do it ourselves. We're surrendering to a force greater than ourselves to help us do it for us. Oh my God, my teeth! Jesus. Whoa. That marshmallow root the marshmallow root sometimes boils over. Marshmallow root is a demulcent. It's really good for nourishing and moisturizing your insides. So that's fine. Great. Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Yeah, well, isn't this great? Somebody gave this to me. Somebody I care about very deeply gave this to me from one of their trips to Mexico. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. So when we align ourselves with this pattern that I'm about to teach you, magic can happen. When we fight it, resist it, deny it, suppress it, shit goes more difficult and you suffer more, okay? Oh, happy 22222. Oh, by the way, it turns out today on 22222 is actually my 15-month sobriety anniversary. There was some confusion with me and my sober sister. I think it was actually her anniversary. We got confused because we're so close. But yeah, today is actually my 15th month sobriety anniversary, which feels really good. Feels so good to be clear, you know? And, you know, speaking of being clear, like, what's the alternative? The alternative is being numb, not being clear, not feeling connected, looking for something outside of myself to like make me feel good. And so that's also what we're going to be learning about in this material, because when we align ourselves with this material, we're going to intuitively know, we're going to intuitively understand things that otherwise would be out of our grasp, out of our reach. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. So what I want to teach you today is a pattern of life that follows a certain orientation from an expansion of energy to a contraction of energy, right? A cyclical spiral path. Now, the alternative is this sort of linear framework of viewing life where it's like, thank you, Roger. It's a linear progression, looks like this, right? So a lot of times we imagine that's what growth looks like. Growth needs to and should look like this. Always up, always producing, always rising, always expanding, always more, right? But that's not actually how nature works. That's not how life works. So let me show you this. Oh, hi, Janice. Oh, good. It's so good to see you, honey. How are you doing? Aw. Yeah, Mary Beth. My friend has very good taste at times. Can you guess who it is? Okay, let's go. We're gonna do this way. Hi, Stella. Stella's doing great. Everybody's doing great. Mama's doing great. Mama's nipple has healed. Mama's surgery has perfectly healed. Yeah, okay, what's the best way to do this? All right, so here we go, guys. Okay, this actually works. Oh, Bethany, thank you. I love you too. Okay, great. Okay, here we go. So here we go. So here is life. You know that song about the big wheel in the sky that keeps on turning? There we go. There's the big wheel in the sky that keeps on turning. That is not a very good circle, but what to do? So the first thing we're going to look at is the cycle of the moon. Hi, Lauren. Hi, honey. We're going to look at the cycle of the moon, okay? So here we go. Here we go. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the full moon down here. Everybody knows the full moon. It's really impossible not to notice the full moon, right? Oh, wait, we're going to use this one. Full moon. So you guys can see better. Let me move these. Okay, great. So everyone notices the full moon, right? The moon is the brightest. Dogs are howling. People are acting a little crazy. The energy is really, really, really full on the full moon. Now, what's the opposite of the full moon? Over here, there's actually something called the new moon. So the new moon is the darkest time of the month. Sometimes, I didn't really notice the new moon until I started on this path so much. I just was always keyed into the full moon, right? But the new moon is kind of the opposite. It's the darkest time. That's when you don't see any moon. The sky is very dark. You're going to stumble around a lot. And then in between here, we have the first quarter moon. And over here, we have the second quarter moon. Okay, so what's happening here? What is happening here? Hi, Brianna, I love you. So what's happening here is where the energy is the lowest. It's darkest. There's no light. There's no energy. It's the lowest time. And in fact, once you start tuning in to the moon, you'll notice, you may start to notice that at this time of the month, you feel more tired. You feel more like staying home. You feel more like kind of like withdrawing and going into the cave. And at this time of the full moon, this is when you want to go out. This is when there's like a fuller expression. In fact, you want to know something very interesting? Here in Guatemala, they make all these beautiful textiles, and they dye them with plants. In fact, on the retreat, the women's retreat that we held in December, we went to a workshop and we saw this in action. A very interesting thing that I learned, that when they are harvesting the plants to dye the cotton, plants that are harvested under the full moon give a brighter color than plants that are harvested under any other time, especially the new moon. So plants harvested to color the cotton on the dark moon give the weakest color, and the plants harvested during the full moon give the brightest color. Now, why is that? It's because the energy here on the full moon is the strongest. It's the brightest, right? And here it's the darkest. And then here, so what's happening here between this place, right? So what is happening here energetically, right? So here, the energy is closed, it's dark, it's less amount, and then here it starts opening up, right? So it starts expanding to allow more light. And then here it's expanding to allow even more light. And then when it reaches this point, it's at the highest, brightest point of energy, right? And then what happens on this side? Well, it starts contracting. It starts going down, going within, right? And then even more so here, really going down, contracting into, so this is the point of darkness, right? And so alternatively, down here is the point of light. Okay? So, stick with me here. So there is a natural movement, natural current, natural pattern that's happening from darkness to light, back to darkness, back to light, back to darkness, back to light, right? It's a spiral that never stops, right? So there's no end to this. Every single month this happens. Now, let's look at another example. And just stick with me. You're gonna see how this comes together. So now, let's draw another circle. Great. So now, let's look at the movement of the sun in one particular day. So here, we're going to draw the same pattern, because this we're learning about is how life creates, and this happens within us as well. So just stay tuned. Okay. Oh, hi, Sarah. Good morning, Silent Watcher. I love you. Yeah, and Brianna, you're right. This is going to be how we come into balance, by learning to align ourselves with this pattern. So stick with me, guys. Stick with me. Trust me, it's really gonna come together. Okay, so here, so this was the moon, obviously, because it says moon. So here's the sun, right? We'll just draw a little sun in the center so you know. When I was a kid, when I would draw the sun, I would always put sunglasses on him, which is kind of funny because it's like, right? Okay, so here's the sun. So here, now let's see. So up here, if this is the darkest time for the moon, what's the darkest time for the sun? It'd be midnight, right? Midnight. The darkest time for the sun. The sun is out. The sun is gone. It's midnight. Now, what is over here we have sunrise. Great. And then down here, this is that noonday sun. This is when it's hot. This is when everybody's out playing, right? Well, if you're out playing at this time, you're probably not in full alignment. But this is the time to be out playing, right? Here's sunrise. And then what do we have over here? We have sunset over here. Great, right? So what are we seeing here? We're seeing from darkness to light, to full light, to less light, to no light. So darkness, a little light, more light, most light, right? We're noticing a pattern emerging. Exactly. So Brianna, we're going to start to draw some other parallels, right? So we're just learning the basics right now. More light. Okay, now less light. The light is going down. Least light, right? To darkness. So every single day, what happens? As surely as we know, the sun is going to rise. So even when it's really dark out, we don't get upset knowing, oh, the sun is never, no, we know, okay, just the sun is coming, okay, great, and then it's noon, and then the day goes on, right? And so we're following a certain pattern. We are following a certain pattern. So there's the energy of the day is following a certain pattern. And I will bet you $1 million that the sun will rise again tomorrow because it's part of this pattern of life. Now, so here we have the moon. So here we'll draw a little moon here because why not? How do you draw a moon? He's like happy. He's got little there's the moon. That's a funny moon. Okay, moon, sun. Okay, great. Let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to look at another example of this. And stick with me, guys. It's all going to come together, I promise you. All right, so now we're going to look at, boop, 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 boop. We're going to look at the seasons. So, okay, so this is 1 day. This is 1 month. Now let's look at 1 year. Okay, so if the darkness of the moon is a new moon, if the darkness of the sun is midnight, what is the darkness of the year? Right? The darkness of the year, call it out if you know it. The darkness of the year is winter. Right? So here we have, at this time, we have the winter solstice. And what do we have over here? We have the spring equinox. And down here, what do we have? Where it's nice and sunny. We have the summer solstice. And then over here, what do we have? We have the fall equinox. Okay? So what's happening here? So spring, right? In the spring, life comes back, right? Life comes back. The snow and the ice of the winter begins to thaw, and new plants start coming back to life, right? New sprouts emerge. It's starting to get warm again, right? We can still have it can still be cold, and it's not quite there yet. We don't quite have our harvest and the fullness of summer, but life is starting to come back. And now, so we're following a certain energetic pattern here. So what's happening here in this part? So this is when there's more growth, right? So growth is coming. All those plants, the seeds that we planted in the spring, they're really starting to take root. We're really seeing that growth, and we're moving towards peak energy, right? Fantastic. Now, what's happening here as we move towards the fall? So the fall time is when, so this time between summer solstice and the fall, we're going to put a pumpkin here because it's a kind of funny pumpkin. It needs a nose. There we go. Right? That's a pumpkin. So the fall is the time that we're harvesting. So in between the summer and the fall, this is the time that we are preparing for the harvest, right? And what is that? We are beginning to conserve energy, right? And then here, between the fall and the winter, what do we have? We're sinking into darkness. Rest. The plants are resting. The land is resting. There's a certain dormancy. The bears are going into the cave. They're going dormant, right? So we're seeing here. So let's do the year. Okay? So we did the moon, the sun. Now we're zooming up, we're seeing the whole year. So from darkness, from darkness, we follow a path that's taking us to light, right? And that light goes back to the darkness. And it keeps going on this same path, right? Yeah. Right? So you're seeing the pattern here. And we need another piece of paper. So guys, stick with me because we're going to see how this relates to your life and how you can get stuck in one of these places. Let me see. I got some paper here. These are my supplies for when there are any kids over, because sometimes Gloria has occasionally brought one of the children from her family to work. And when they come, I want to make sure that I have like art supplies and things to entertain them. So okay, because I myself do not use little car stencils. Okay, maybe I should. Okay, let's check on the tea real quick. Hi, tea. It's looking good. Okay, let's put this back on. Exploded a little bit at the beginning of this. Okay, guys, so how is this hitting you? I'm discovering astrology. Well, yeah, so James, so why this information is so important is because when we start to grasp this cycle, we start to see it playing out everywhere. On the outside and, more importantly, on the inside of us. So when we're out of whack with this cycle, we're going to be depressed, we're probably going to be unhealthy, we're probably going to have all kinds of problems, we're going to feel like something isn't right, we're going to feel like, things aren't going right, but I don't know what it is, right? So this is why I want to teach this to you guys, because I believe that this is the way that this is one of the ways that we get our groove back. This is one of the ways that we can reconnect to the spirit of life. Okay, so we did the moon, the sun, the year. Now let's look at, okay, so I'll just draw human cycles. No, we're gonna do the cycle within a plant. So stay with me, guys. We're doing great. Oh, thanks, Sandra. I love you, honey. Okay, so here we go. So let's take it again. So here we go. So yeah, this is what we're learning. We are learning right now how to come back into alignment. Boop. Okay, so now we're going to look at the journey of a seed. So here's our seed, our new seed, right here on the top. Right? Isn't it incredible with a seed that a whole giant oak tree is contained within the seed? But it doesn't start out as an oak tree, right? It starts out as a seed. And what happens to that seed? It goes through a certain process, right? So here's the lowest energy. It's the tiniest seed. It's the lowest possible energy. But what happens? That seed begins to grow. So we see the germination of the seed, so it moves, right? And from germination, so here's our quadrants again. Over here, after it germinates, it sprouts. right? Right? We got a little sprout. It sprouts. And then, now what it's going to do, it's going to follow the same path, and now it's growing. And then down here in the fullness of the energy, what's the fullness of the energy for this little seed? It's going to flower. Oh, flower. Right? So look at this. Remember that dark moon? The nothing, the darkness, and then here's the full expression of the full moon. Here is the darkness of the seed, and here's the full expression of the seed and the flower. But it doesn't stop there. What's going to happen next? So now it's going to mature. The flower is going to mature, and then it's going to give off fruit. It's going to give off something. There's going to be a harvest from the plant. That could be more seeds. That could be the fruit, right? It's the full cycle. You get it, right? And then what's going to happen? What's going to happen inevitably to that plant? Tell me. It's going to decay. It's going to decay, right? Now, excuse me. Let's do this. This is a plant. Excuse me. Okay, it's a funny plant, but this is a plant, so right? So there's a certain life cycle here. So actually at this point, right, there's a death, and then there's life. There's a rebirth, right? So this point is actually, and in fact, let's look at this real quick. So what we're seeing in all of these cycles is a certain cycle that looks like this. Right? There's the light, and there is the dark. So on this side, we're seeing increasing energy, because this is what it's all about. It's all about energy. Everything that we are, everything that exists is made of energy. So on this side, we're seeing an increase of energy. We're seeing growth. We're seeing expansion. Oops, what am I doing? Right? So on this side, you see the light, increasing, growth, expansion. Now on this side, what are we seeing? We're seeing contraction. We're seeing going within. So this side is very external. Externally focused. This side is internally focused. It's just, right? So here on this side, we're also conserving energy, right? And it's also the side of rest, right? So this is the pattern that we're seeing. This is exactly what we're seeing in all of these examples, starting with the moon. So we'll start with the sun. This is what happens every single day. Darkness at night, at midnight. Sun rises, there's an expansion of energy. It's beginning to move outward. It's beginning to expand until noon. We have the most light, right? Exactly. And then we follow this course, right? And then here now we are at a month. So externally focused, expanding. So from the new moon, we start gaining light all the way to the full moon, which is the full expression. And then it starts contracting, and we lose light, and we go back to the darkness. Now, look at the year. In the winter, we have the darkness. You're in the darkness. It's cold. You don't want to go outside. You just want to stay in and be cozy. And then the spring comes, and life comes back, and the energy starts expanding until it's at full expression. And then here, it's starting to go down, so we're preparing for the harvest. We're starting to have those harvest festivals. Oh, yep. And then darkness. Okay, so now we go into the darkness. Okay, we're in the darkness, and then life comes back, right? So here's the pattern. Light to dark, to light to dark, to light to dark. Externally focused, increasing, expanding energy. Now to contracting energy, to rest, conserving energy, going within, internally focused, right? As sure as the sun will rise. This is how the energy is going to move. Now, how does this play out within a human? Let's take a look at that. I see you too, Roxanne. You're not filtered. Okay, so how does this play out in a human? Boop. Right? Here we go. You ready? We're actually going to look at the example of a woman. So here, you're born. Yay, welcome to the world. And now, right? So you're born, you're a tiny little grub, you can't do shit, everyone else has to take care of you, your energy is the smallest, but you're going to start to grow, right? Just like the seed. Where's our seed? Just like the seed. What's going to happen? So here you're just a little seed, right? And you're going to start to grow. You're germinating. And then you're going to sprout. So what are we going to sprout into? So here is our childhood. This is the spring of our life. Right? And now, in the example of a woman, she gets to this point, and this is where she menstruates. She's young, but she's in the process of becoming a woman. Right? And now here, we enter our adolescence. And this can be seen as the summer of our lives, right? And here, what happens here for a woman? This could be where she gets pregnant. You know, in that fullness of energy, she's with child, right? And now what happens here? So now we are entering into, right? So here she's a kid, she's an adolescent, here she's a woman, and now what's happening? She's entering into adulthood. And this is the fall. This is the fall of her life, right? And then here, what happens? We move into menopause, right? Now she's really going within. She's really starting to conserve that energy. That energy is no longer available for having babies, right? And this is also why, well, I would say, here we go into our elderhood, right? So this is the winter. And then here is the end. We die. Now, one thing that is unfortunate about our culture is that we don't really value the elderhood, you know? But this is where a person has the most wisdom. They've gained the most experience. They've gained the most energy. They have so much to look back on. They have so, like, they've reaped the harvest. Like, this is where is it? Here. You know, this is where we have our harvest. This is where we have our supplies. Like, this is where we worked so hard to get to this point to be able to enjoy the winter, right? So, what's important to understand about this is that this is the natural cycle of life, right? The birth, the death, these are important steps. One is not more important than the other. Now, what's really important to understand about this cycle is that, look at this. Look at all of these. Do you see an end in sight? No. So here's the thing. Nature does not create on a linear pathway. It's a cycle. There are seasons. It's a spiral, and it never stops. This is how the energy moves. Now, when we align ourselves and our schedules and our lives with this rhythm and with this flow, that's when the real magic can happen. But when we fight it, that's when we suffer. So a lot of people, understandably, are really afraid of death. They don't want to die. They don't want their loved ones to die because it seems like it's very tragic and it's a loss. And understandably, like it hurts when someone you love dies. And it's part of life. You don't get the life without the death. You don't get life without death. By embracing all parts of this cycle, we're embracing life itself, right? So, what are some cultural myths? What are some ideas that could really prevent us from aligning ourselves with this cycle? Because this is happening whether we like it or not. It's happening every single day. In fact, it's happening with every single breath. Let's look at the example of our breath, following this expansion contraction. So when I'm breathing in, I'm expanding. But then there comes a point when I have a full breath, and now I have to contract, right? And it keeps going with every breath. And right, what are we doing when we're breathing? We're gaining that life force prana. We're gaining life force energy, right? So this cycle is happening. Now, some people are like, no, I don't want to ever die. I don't want to ever, go down. I don't want to ever be tired. So, okay, imagine that. Imagine you're breathing in, and you're only breathing in. You'd get to a point where your lungs would explode. And alternatively, if you were to and never stop, you would also collapse. You would have a collapsed lung. So we need both. We need the expansion, we need the contraction, and we need the balance between the two. We need to alternate between them in order to stay in a healthy life. So, cultural beliefs that would prevent us from really being in alignment with this. So 1, rest is bad. It's not okay to rest. You shouldn't rest. To rest, you should always be productive. You should always be producing and productive. You should always be active. You should always be active because resting is a waste of time and a waste of energy, right? Oh my gosh. If we do that, then we're never going to be able to really honor this cycle, right? So, other fears, other beliefs is that, when we go into the darkness, when we go into this dark, yes, exactly. So Lynn, these are literal, but they're also metaphorical. So we all love being in the light, but we don't necessarily like being in the darkness. It's this time of rest. You can't see very clearly in the darkness. So this can be a time of uncertainty and confusion and not knowing the path. You can't see the way. There's no light. Here in the sunlight, you can see the way. You can see where you're going, right? And so one cultural belief that we have is that it's not okay to rest. We have a fear of failure. We have a fear of the unknown. So this can also be the unknown. So this side can be the unknown. This side can be considered the mystery, right? In this darkness, right? You get it, right? So we have a cultural belief. We have a fear of failure. We have a fear of the unknown. We have a fear of wasting energy. Yeah, exactly, Denise. You need to recharge your body. So here, when the energy is always going out, you're doing, you're dancing, you're expressing, you're talking, you're right? And then here is when we're doing the opposite of that. So we also have the cultural belief that death is bad and that aging is bad, right? So this is, we almost have like a fetish for young people in this time of their life. And we sort of cast aside people as they're getting older. But that's actually, we're denying one of the greatest resources of our culture when we don't value our elderhood. So, do you guys see this, how important this is? Because nobody teaches us this. This is happening all the time. In all ways. Now, the one thing that's important to understand, because there are people who, so what can a period of darkness look like? Darkness can look like grief. Darkness can look like injury and sickness. Darkness can look like all the ways that we're being called to go within. Darkness can be all the ways that we're being asked by God to stop. In fact, I even heard that one of the reasons energetically that COVID happened was that our world was caught in such a state of constant expansion, constant go, 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 that the force of life was like, you need to stop. You need to go within. You need to honor this cycle because we have not been living in a way that honors this cycle. And so we were forced to stop. So sometimes when you don't honor this cycle, you will be forced to stop. You will be forced to stop if you don't stop on your own, if you don't prioritize rest, if you don't listen to the guidance from within that is telling you, stop, shut it off, stop this, and you push through. That's where the bad shit can happen, because this cycle is going to happen whether you like it or not, right? And here's also the thing, is like, we have no control over how long the cycle takes. The only thing we have control over is how we respond to it. So a lot of times people will ask me, but I'm in the darkness, I'm in the grief, how much longer does it have to, like, how much longer is this going to take? And it's like, well, your ability to return to the light is directly proportional to your willingness to surrender to the darkness. What does that mean? People will say, yes, but I have been grieving. And I'm like, really? Have you shut off your phone? Have you stopped the distractions? Have you really gone into the feelings? Have you really let yourself descend into that darkness? Right? Because a lot of times we don't want to go into the darkness, right? The darkness, we have this cultural belief that it's wrong to feel bad. It's wrong to be tired. If there's something wrong with you, like, don't make other people uncomfortable by crying and feeling your feelings. Put on a happy face. Like, don't go into the darkness. No, go into the darkness. It's so important for the sake of yourself, of your family, of your community, of humanity, that you are willing to step into the darkness, because that is how you will come back and be reborn and be resurrected like Jesus. You have to go into the darkness. You have to be like Luke Skywalker and go into the cave and meet the Darth Vader of your fears and meet the Darth Vader of your darkness if you are going to become the Jedi that we need. We need you to rise as the Jedi that you were sent to this earth to be. But you can only fulfill your spiritual destiny if you honor this cycle, if you go into the cave, if you are willing to surrender completely into the darkness. So what does that mean? That means, yes, feel your feelings. That means rest when you're tired. That means if you're going into a space where you feel like you need to, like, rest or slow down, or you can feel the energy contraction, you can feel the energy going down, honor it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to think your way out of it. Don't try to personal growth your way out of it. Like, I just need to, like, watch something to, like, motivate me to get my energy back. Like, no. Sit with it. Turn off your phone. Cry your eyes out if you need to. Go into it. Explore the feelings. Explore the feelings with full honesty, with brutal honesty, with rigorous honesty. Feel everything. Because your ability to go into the darkness fully, to step into this part of the cycle, is what is going to bring you back to the light. So for the love of the light, love the darkness, because it's all part of the same. And sometimes people ask me, how can you kill animals? Like, how could you withstand the death of Annabelle? And it's like, because I understand that this is life. You don't get life without death. You don't get life without death. You don't get the light without the darkness, right? So, hi Bex. So, thanks Chastity. So, I hope this was helpful. Let me see. Okay, so that's a great question. So, or a great point. So when you're feeling that yourself going into the decay, the lower energy, sometimes you need to ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? Because that lowering energy, the darkness, is a call for release. It's a call of letting go, right? While the light side is all about gaining and expanding and expressing, the other side is about going within and shedding and releasing. So we can get stuck in these phases. Hi, Bev. Hi, honey. So we can get stuck in these phases when we deny it. No, I don't want to be here. This is wrong. I shouldn't be feeling the way that I'm feeling, right? When we suppress it, no, I'm fine. I don't feel, everything's fine. Just put on a happy face. Everything's fine. Just stuff it down, right? We're repressing it. So we're going to stay stuck there. So the more we repress it, suppress it, and resist it, what you resist will persist. So resisting the feelings, denying the feelings, or suppressing the feelings can keep you stuck in that place of feeling stagnant, right? So when we're in that place sometimes, so giving yourself the chance to rest, also asking yourself, what, in all honesty, do I need to release? That could be a job that's not working for you. That could be a relationship that's not working for you. And you know it. Maybe you don't want to admit it. Maybe you don't want to accept it because it's kind of working out, like you're enduring it. Like something's not working, but it's working well enough that you can like endure it, but it's not quite right. But I don't want to admit it because the alternative is too scary. Because what's the alternative? The unknown. It's scary to step into the dark. It's scary to step into the unknown. It's scary to be in the mystery where nothing is familiar and you had to let go of some shit that was kind of sustaining you. Wasn't making you happy, but it was sustaining you just enough to get by. But was that God's will for your life? Does God want you just to get by? Does God want just good enough for you? Or does God have a plan for you? Does God have a plan and a purpose and a spiritual destiny for you? But are you going to access that spiritual destiny if you're settling for less than you deserve? So, how do we live in harmony with these cycles? First things. Good, Erica. How do we start? How do we start reconnecting to ourselves, to life, to God, to our true path? How do we find it? Angela, I'm so happy to hear it. How do we find it? So first thing, how do we live in harmony with the cycle? First things first. And I know this is going to be hard for a lot of you out there. We have to come into alignment with the sun and the moon. Basic energy sources of our lives, guys. So, the sun. I don't know about you, but there have been times in my life that I worked until 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go to bed until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And coincidentally, those were the times that I was relying on weed and alcohol. Those are the times when I was in a relationship that wasn't serving my highest good, right? So, basic things. Go to bed with the sun and wake up with the sun. Don't put a lot of light in your face late at night. Have a limit for when you turn off your phone. I like to turn off my phone around 8:30. I like to wind down. I like to be getting in bed between 9 and 9:30. Call me crazy. 10 o'clock is like late. That's like late for me. Right? So we're setting boundaries. Exactly. We're setting boundaries with ourselves. So we start like a mother who really cares for her child. No, honey, it's time to turn off the TV. It's time to get ready for bed. You are that inner child. You are that child, right? So starting to set some boundaries with yourself. Okay, honey, time to turn off the phone, turn off the lights, maybe light some candles at night. Reset your circadian rhythm. So sometimes people, you see it here. I'm talking about health and well-being on this channel. My mission is to help you live a happier, healthier life in alignment with the truth within. So this is what this is about. This is basic, right? So people ask me, what's something I can take, right? What's a plant, what's a supplement I can take to feel healthier or lose weight? And I'm like, friend, that's not where we start. I want to know, what time are you going to bed? How's your circadian rhythm? How's your circadian rhythm? So the circadian rhythm is a response to the light and the dark. So that's something that was a big thing for me to change, is to honor that. So I go to bed around 9:30, and I wake up around 5:30. As the sun is just before the sun rises. Now that is also the most potent time of the day to harness some powerful energy with that rising sun. In fact, when I wrote my book, Leaving America with Erica, I would set my alarm for 4:30 while it was still dark. I would make my cacao, I would say my prayers, I would do my meditations, and I would start writing my book, harnessing that wave of energy right as the sun was rising. Powerful stuff. So, aligning ourselves with the sun. Next, aligning ourselves with the moon. So, I've come to understand, thank you Janice, love you too honey. I've come to understand that aligning myself with the moon is so important because when we're at the dark moon, in the darkness, this is the time to plant seeds. This is the time to reflect. This is the time to get insight and clarity on what do I want to let go of for this next season? What do I want to call in for this next season? Or what do I want to let go of from this past season? What do I want to call in for this next season? So the new moon in the darkness, right? This is the time when it is, yeah, exactly. Who like Louise and Louise are talking about winter takes it out of me. Yeah, same. I love it when the spring comes. Exactly. The winter is supposed to take it out of you. We love the spring. In fact, we only want the summer. Who wants to be in the darkness? Who wants to be in the unknown? We want to take action. We want to move forward. We want to feel good, right? But we can't always feel that way. Life doesn't allow that. Life doesn't afford that, and that's not how life works. So it's okay to want the spring and the summer, but it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the winter. It doesn't mean we can't, exactly, Amy, a good time for self-exploration, right? So this is also why I'm gearing up to start releasing my email newsletter, and I want to release it around the new moon. Because in the newsletter, my email list, right? It's on my website. If you go to ericaderrickson.com, we're going to start doing the raffle prizes. In fact, this weekend, my new assistant, Chani, she's from the Philippines. Her name's a little bit, sometimes it confuses me about how to pronounce it. She's so cool. She's so on top of it. She's so good. So she's helping me to start to release my email list newsletter, which includes, we're going to be doing the raffle for the Zoom call. So we have the Zoom call every 2 weeks in the High Vibe Tribe, but that's something you subscribe for. You just pay $10 a month for that. If you don't want or are not in a position to pay for anything, here's an opportunity to get a chance to win something with me for free. So that's on the newsletter. So that's going to come out around the new moon, like 3 days before the new moon. And that's because in that letter, I also want to give you some ideas of, what you could be thinking about for this season. Maybe some things that could inspire you for this next season, because the new moon is a great opportunity to do that work, right? So we can work with the energy of life to grow new things in our garden or in our life. Same thing. It's all a metaphor, because it's just how the energy moves. So the most important thing is that, we're coming into alignment with our bodies. And this is also why, for me, why sobriety is so important. Because when I'm smoking weed, when I'm drinking alcohol, I'm numbing myself. I'm numbing my feelings. And that's one of the reasons why I do it. That's one of the things why I do it, because I don't have to feel. And so if I have unprocessed shit, instead of looking at my stuff, instead of doing the work to process it, I just take an easy route of smoking weed or drinking alcohol, and then I don't have to feel it. But as Brene Brown says, you can't selectively numb your feelings. So to numb your sadness and your anger, you're also numbing your joy. What you're also numbing is your ability to sense the movements of life, right? You're also numbing your intuitive sense of what you need in this cycle. So when we come into alignment, what we're doing is we're really coming into alignment with our bodies, with the messages and signals from our bodies. Like, my body knows. In fact, past couple days, I wasn't here. Hi, Mama. I wasn't here because, hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, honey. Hi. Hi, Mama. Come here. Come here, honey. Hi. Come here. Nice. Hi, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, hi. Good morning. Stella sometimes gets very jealous. Hey. You're my top dog. You're my top dog. You're my number one. Hey, Mama. Mama had her breakfast, and then she left, and she went off on her adventure, and now she's back. Yeah. Did you have a good time? Did you have fun? So the last couple of days I was off. I was in a contraction. In fact, the High Vibe tribe knew because I made a video. I am in a contraction and I looked really bad and I was really tired and I just got my period. And I was sitting for an ayahuasca ceremony, so I was doing all this like inner work. I was going within, so it was not the time to go out. So my body knew. I was honoring my body. I was giving my body what I need rather than trying to serve somebody else of like, oh, but they need me and I'm supposed to, and no, like, hey, listen, my body needs this right now, so I'm going to give it to myself and I'm not going to apologize for it, right? So we're learning to trust what we feel. We're learning to really tune into our bodies and the wisdom of our bodies. In fact, if something isn't right in our bodies, or in our lives, right, we're going to feel it in our bodies. In fact, I'll tell you that I made the decision to stop the work on the land. I was working with a group of guys, and something wasn't feeling right, and I was feeling it in my body. In fact, Ashley and I were joking that, in fact, Stella was getting more like aggressive because of the tension in my nervous system around this like land stuff. So I stopped. And what I realized is like I need to take more time to be in the unknown. I need to take more time in the mystery and just vision and dream. And that's also the cool part about the darkness. When we stay in that darkness, this is our time to dream. This is our time to have visions. This is the time to explore our imagination, you know, and not just have these tangible, concrete things to move forward, which is also why it's hard, because we want to move forward. We want to be proactive. We want to be producing, right? Because that's what's valued in our society. So, the big part about this also is that you have to have faith and trust. You have to have faith and trust. To be in the darkness, to be in the winter, to be in the darkness, you have to trust that the light is going to return. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in the darkness, it feels like it's forever. I'm always going to feel this way. It's always going to be this way, right? And it's like, no. It's just temporary. It's a temporary tiredness. It's a temporary sadness. It's a temporary place. And from this place, when I surrender into it, I'm going to get someplace new. So, right? So faith and trust are very important elements of this process, right? So now we've heard that when we deny, suppress, or resist it, we can stay stuck in it. So what's the alternative? Because we're going to go through the winter, we're going to go through the fall, we're going to go through those times, even though we want the spring and the summer. Of course we want the spring and the summer, especially if you live in Maine. But when we can accept the gifts of the darkness, we can enjoy it. We can enjoy the process. Even if it's not where we want to be, we can cultivate contentment, right? We can cultivate santosha, contentment with life, a non-resistance, a presence, and even joy, right? We can let go of our expectations of the way things should be, and we can actually just be present with what is and enjoy it. I had this really wonderful moment during my ayahuasca ceremony. You know, it's a medicine from the jungle, very ancient, very special, very powerful medicine. And you drink it. Like, it's a substance that you drink. It's made out of these vines. It takes a lot of expertise and time and love and energy to make this. And you drink it, and then there's some time where you're just sitting and just kind of waiting for it to work. And the last time I had an ayahuasca journey, about almost a year ago, in this time I was really fighting. I was like, what? It was taking a long time to start. And I was like, nothing's happening. I want it to work. Everyone else is having it. It was like, you know, it's working for everyone else, but not me. And when is it going to happen? I was really, really resisting it. I was really, really resisting it based on what I thought should be happening or what I expected to happen. And I suffered for it. I suffered. Coincidentally, this was also the ceremony when I really learned about expansion and contraction. The idea is like you sit up. You're sitting up because you're allowing the energy to move through you. And it's advised to sit up rather than lay down because you get a better flow of energy when your spine is straight. And so I had just come from Mexico at this time. I just done all these things. I was in a just constant expansion. We did Shine Tribe, we did all of these things where I was putting out a lot of energy. And I remember I was so tired and I just wanted to lay down, but my mind was like, no, you have to do it the right way. You have to sit standing up. It's like, okay, when is it gonna, like resistance, attachment, resistance, expectation. And then finally I was just like, fuck it. And I just laid down and I curled up and I went into a little ball. I just went into like the fetal position. It was a contraction, right? So I was trying to stay expanded energy. I was trying to expand, constant expansion. It just wasn't working. Fuck. And I just surrendered. And I surrendered into this like little seed, into a ball. My energy went within. And of course, that's when it started working, because I had surrendered. But that's when I learned also the value of like, I can't be in constant expansion as much as I want to, as much as I want to be there and do things right and show up in the way that I think is best. And like sometimes I need to just curl up into a little ball. Sometimes I need to just go within, and that was the key to that opening. And that was actually where the energy of Ava came through. So last night, or the other night when I had my ceremony, again, sitting there in that same spot. Last time I was like, it's not working, when is it going to work? And I suffered, I struggled, expectation, resistance. And this time I was like, okay, whatever happens, I accept. Even if I just sit here all night, nothing happens, okay, it's okay. And the women started singing, so the space is held. This time it was held by 4 women. One woman was from Peru, and she had her assistant with her from Israel. Another woman was my beautiful, wonderful teacher, Ananda. You've met her before. And my dear friend, Keenan. So these 4 women were holding the space, holding the container. And they started singing, and it was like the voices of angels. It was the voices of angels. Like, wow. And they were just blessing the space. They were blessing our journey. They were offering these prayers and blessings. And I just really started listening. And I just started like just swaying and kind of dancing with it and just being so present to it. And I had this moment where I realized I completely forgot to worry about what I wanted to happen because I was too busy enjoying what was. I was too busy enjoying what was, right? I wasn't in a state of resistance. And because of that, I had a joyful experience. I had such a joyful, blessed, incredible experience. And in fact, there was like in other ceremonies, you know, when you sit with the medicine of ayahuasca, you know, at the beginning, at the first couple ceremonies, because like one, you know, it's really best done over time, over series, like any kind of therapeutic work. First ones can really be processing a lot of like grief and the dark energy, the darkness, right? Because we're humans, right? We have trauma, we have pain, we have shit that happens to us that stays in our body, that stays in our field. And so my previous ceremonies, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of grief that was coming up, there was a lot of like feelings that I was processing. And this ceremony, it was just a beautiful celebration. And in fact, I went in with some very strong intentions about crossing a certain threshold as a woman, crossing a certain threshold as a human. And it was very much that. It was an initiation for me. It was an opening. It was a very joyous experience. I still released, like, I still had my purge because that it's working with ayahuasca is an opportunity to do some very deep energetic work. Of course, you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to go there. Like this, like if you resist the darkness, if you resist the work, you can stay stuck and you can suffer, right? But so it affords you it's a tool and a friend and a teacher and an ally to help move some energetic stuff. So acceptance. So Amy, acceptance and surrender. It's the opposite of resistance, right? So this time it was a beautiful initiation, and I was able to purge. But my intention was with this purge, you're literally taking the energies out of your body. You're taking these poisons out of your body, right? And my intention was really to heal my heart and to really release the wounds of my heart and these frequencies of brokenness that I've been carrying. In fact, I'll tell you, I've been sharing some of my old videos, and it's been a little hard to go back and watch them because I see how much pain I was in. I don't know if you can read that when you watch them. I think it's pretty obvious. The pain and the suffering and all of these like frequencies of brokenness that I was carrying. And so this ceremony was, for me, was like all about like really letting go. It was like letting go of the past, stepping joyously through to this like new doorway into this like new expression of myself as a woman, as a mother to be, like inshallah. Like, it was so powerful, it was so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for the experience. It was some really profound healing. So anyways, Janice, do I think my sister will deliver my first baby? She better, Janice. Oh my gosh, she better. No, yeah, we've talked about it. I want my sister to be there. Ashley, so I told you that I broke up with the team of guys that I was working with. And part of the reason I was working with it, I didn't think there were any other options. Like, I kind of had to, and what a pattern. I put up with a situation that wasn't serving my highest good because I didn't want to go into the mystery of the unknown, because I thought this was the only way. And then I started talking to Ashley, who you've met in a video, and she's a natural builder, and she takes on clients. She's a permaculturalist, and she's a woman, and she's so on, and she's so beautiful. So I'm actually now signing on to work with Ashley. I forgot how that related. Mama, how does that relate to what I was saying? How does it relate? Do you remember? I don't remember. Anyways, I got too excited there for a second. Should we all come out? Margaret, no. Well, you know what? In the future, there may be an opportunity. But for right now, no. Right now is the time when I need to, and this is what I'm excited about with Ashley. You know, the darkness, there's a certain feminine aspect to it. There's going within, a receptivity, whereas the light side, there's more of like a masculine, projecting, producing, going, erectile quality to it, to the energy, right? And so with the land, what I came to understand was that I was pushing myself into the productive energy before I really was ready for it. I needed to spend more time in the mystery. I needed to spend more time in the dreaming and coming up with an exact plan and map. So that's what Ashley's going to help me do. She's this like wonderful guiding feminine force in my life, and she's going to help me now in this like dream phase to come up with more of a plan for the land. So I have to sit in the darkness a little longer. Nobody likes to sit in the darkness, but we have to do it if we're to arrive in the clarity of the light. So, how do you create an upward spiral from a downward spiral? You know, when we're stagnant, when we're stuck, when we're lost, like when we're making bad choices, we can downward spiral. How do we change it to an upward spiral? Right? This is like an addiction. You're in a downward spiral until you hit bottom. And then what happens at that bottom? There's a point of awareness. There's a point of awareness of like, wait, I can't do this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then from that point, a willingness to change is born. A willingness to do things differently. So, if you recognize that you're out of alignment, it's a time to accept that. It's a time to admit that. And then make some changes. And maybe that change is letting go, discarding, releasing some things, and being willing to sit in the unknown, not knowing how it's going to work out. And this is the best time for prayer. I mean, there's never not a good time for prayer. There's never not a good time to ask for help from God, right? Like, God is always the answer. Whatever your problem, my sponsor says this, whatever your problem is, God is the answer. So God and surrendering to God, because God can be trying to give you answers. Have you heard that story about the guy? There was this like great flood, and the whole neighborhood was flooded, and this guy, he like manages to get up onto his roof, the roof of his house, and the water is rising, and he says, I know it, I have faith, God is going to save me. And soon enough, some guy rows by on the boat, maybe it's one of his neighbors, and says, hey, come on, let's go. And he says, no, I'm cool. God is going to save me. God is going to save me. And the guy's like, all right. He rows away. And then, the water's rising, the situation's getting more intense, and a helicopter comes, and they say, sir, we'll drop the ladder, climb up. And he says, no, I'm good, God will save me. And the helicopter's like, all right, and it goes away, and the water rises, and the water rises, and the water rises, and the man drowns. And in the spiritual realm, beyond these physical forms, he gets to meet this source called God. And, of course, at this time, he gets to ask any question. He says, so, shit, man, why didn't you save me? I was so sure you were going to save me. And this source called God said, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. What did you think those were? That was me trying to save you, right? So, God is there for us in every situation. But are we there for God? Are we open to how this source, this force that we call God, this higher power, are we there to receive it? Or are we saying, no, it's not going to look like this. No, it's not going to look like that. No, it's going to look like this. And then that never comes. And whoa. Get on board. Get on board with God, dude. Like, whatever that is for you. So, we are learning to come into alignment. We are learning to let go and release that which does not serve our highest and greatest good. It's not an easy process, but the more we do it, the easier it gets. The more we release the old negative stuff, the more we're just left with joy and with alignment and bliss. And it's a process. It's not going to happen at once. It's not going to happen overnight. Because as we know, there are many cycles and seasons playing out here. But the more we align ourselves with this force, the more we're going to start to see the magic unfolding for us. Because the magic is there. It never goes away, it never stops, but we pinch ourselves off by insisting that growth has to be linear, that it's not okay to rest, that it's not okay to die, that it's not okay for things to die, that it's not okay for relationships or jobs or situations to end because I don't know what they'll be and that's not okay, so I have to hold on tightly to the thing that's not working because I'm too afraid of the unknown. I'm too afraid of the darkness. So, your ability and willingness to step into the darkness and fully surrender, and I mean fully surrender, I mean turn off your phone. Stop distracting yourself. Stop doing busy things. Stop saying yes to doing things for others. And go into your experience. Go into the grief. Go into the feelings. Cry it out. Give yourself that time and space. Don't worry about what other people think. Give yourself the gift of the darkness because the darkness is the doorway. The darkness is the doorway. But you can't move through the doorway if you're holding on to the door frame, kicking and screaming. Let go. Move through it and discover what's waiting for you on the other side. Okay? Alright guys, I love you so much and I'm so grateful to be able to bring this material to you. I hope this resonated. Now, I will post these, so this exercise, so for my High Vibe Tribe friends, this exercise was honestly for you to make the notes that I had promised you from the lecture we did the other night. So I'm going to take photos of these and I'll post these in the group. I'll also post these here. Does alignment create a way to expand in a more balanced way, or there are just personalities that understand the process better and then others that just dive into expansion to the point of exhaustion and darkness? Well, diving into expansion to the point of exhaustion and darkness is resisting and denying the need to go into the expansion. So, you can be forced to stop and it can become a source of depression and anxiety and resistance, or you can stop in a graceful way. Like, I believe when I feel myself going into a contraction, it's like, I ask myself, how can I do this gracefully? Okay, first, and how this happened the other day with High Vibe Tribe, I put a video out for you guys being like, hey, I'm in this state, talking a little bit about my feelings and what I was going through, and I didn't apologize for it. It's like, no, I'm not sorry, and now I'm going to shut off the phone, and I'm going to bed, and I'm not going to do shit, and I'm going to let myself, and I'm not going to beat myself up while I'm in that place. I'm going to practice love and compassion with myself while I'm in this restful, unproductive, unfocused, slightly confused, you know, definitely like ugly state. I'm going to give myself that gift. So are there personalities? No, not necessarily. I think we cultivate certain habits just like anything else. So you can move from one state to another by cultivating certain habits, by your choice. And this is also, again, why meditation is important, because it helps us calm our mind, it helps us recognize the programs that we're running in our mind, and awareness and recognizing is the first step to changing something. So, all right, guys. I love y'all very, very much. No, Suzanne, Neil did not teach this to me, but Kenzie, one of the women in the class, taught this to me. And it had such a big effect. It had such a big effect on me, which is why I wanted to bring it to you guys. So I will post these notes, and I will post these notes for you to look back on. And so the assignment that I gave in the High Vibe Tribe is that, you know, I encourage you to reflect, like, where are you in the cycle? And you can be, there are cycles within cycles. Like, I'm in a certain cycle in my menstrual cycle right now. I'm in a certain cycle with the land. I'm in a certain cycle with my life. Like, there, you can be in different places. There's cycles within cycles, which is also why I love the mind calendar, because it's all about cycles within cycles, as opposed to the linear projection, right? So growth never looks like this. It's more like this. Yeah. Okay. Expand gracefully. Yeah, exactly. How can I contract gracefully? How can I expand gracefully? How can I bow down to these forces and not fight them, but flow with them? Because this is what we're learning to do. We're learning to go with it, to flow with it, to learn from it, and to see where God wants to take us when we let go of our expectations of how we want it to be or how we thought it could be, and let God show us what is the divine plan of which we're all a part. And leaning into that force, leaning into that is where the real medicine is. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your medicine. Thank you for your medicine. Thank you for your medicine. This healing this way. This healing this day. This healing on its way. I love you guys. You got this. You can do it. Little changes in the course, but you got this. And you're loved, and you're worthy, and you're exactly where you're meant to be. It was all for learning anyway. Okay. Bye. Love you.